Hey cool kids, for this week's video I'm repainting this picture from the far off past of, about 2 weeks ago. I did the first painting in sort of this fit of inspiration because I had this cool idea of this picture of a mermaid and like the kind of plastic bag you get when you buy a fish from the fish store, and I just really wanted to get it down on paper. But after I'd finished the first painting, I was just so unsatisfied with it. I decided instead of feeling down and out about how it turned out, I would instead recreate the piece and use it as a learning tool by not making the same mistakes I'd done before. So I started by sketching on a separate piece of paper and then transferring that to watercolor paper using chalk pastel. And this was good because it meant that I could work the first sketch a lot more than I had the first time around. With the first painting, I'd done it directly on the watercolor paper, and so I was worried about getting too dark with the pencil sketch because I didn't want it to show through when I did the painting. I then went over with watercolor pencil instead of my brush pen, just so that way I could give the piece a softer look. And there were some pros and cons to this. One of the cons was that when I was doing the background, in the first painting I had just gone over the entire background area and the mermaid herself in blue to give everything a sort of blue tone to it, but I couldn't do that with this painting because that would make the colors bleed into each other too much, and I was worried I would pull the watercolor pencil around and it would get a little blurry and not look good. So I had to be more careful with that, but it still worked out alright. And then with the first piece, I had actually accidentally given her a yellow base color because it was very dark when I was painting it and I didn't realize what color I was using, but I liked how that turned out for the skin tone, so I redid that in the recreation and then went over it with a pink base for a lot of the shading and the toning of the mermaid's skin. Now I struggled a lot with painting the tail mainly because I was just using my tiny little water brush. Like, I think it would have been smarter to have gone in with a bigger brush. I could have gotten a smoother base color, but I didn't really think of doing that. Like, I even have bigger brushes, I just didn't want to bother getting them out. Oh, and then for the hair, I completely forgot how to mix black. Like, I've been watching a lot of watercolor tutorials lately, and they all suggest that you mix your own black instead of using the black that comes in palettes, just so, I don't know, so you can get a better black or something. And I, for the life of me, could not remember what colors went into making it black. Like, I knew it was complementary colors, but I didn't know which colors complemented each other. I'm not super happy with the teal. I feel like I went with a much warmer purple with the repainting than I did with the first painting. And with the first painting, I had given her pink accents on her tail, which would have worked better with this one because of the warmth. I think the coolness of the teal detracts a little bit too much from that color scheme. Ah yes, here you can see me sort of remembering what a black is. Although I think I ended up just going in with the actual black that comes in the palette. And then with the first paint in the tail, I did this technique which I actually really liked, where while the paint was still drying, I dabbed it with my finger to give it a sort of textured scale-like effect. And when I tried redoing that with the piece, I first went in with a tissue, which did not work because it pulled up too much color, but I wanted it to be more professional, so that's why I tried that. But when I realized that wasn't working, I just went over with my finger. It turned out alright, although I don't think it was quite as concise, I guess, as the tail texture in the first piece had turned out, so I later ended up going over the tail with more color just to sort of mute that out a little bit, so we still have that texture, but it's not as prominent. Anyways, there's no real point to this piece. I've actually owned several fish in my life, and they've all died fairly tragic deaths because I've learned that I am a terrible fish owner. Like, I did not know until recently when I started following some fish type blogs on Tumblr that apparently fish are supposed to have big tanks and like filtered water. Like I always just kept my fish in a vase, and then I was like, wow, why did my fish live such a short amount of time? And it's like, because you're a terrible fish owner, Melody. So at some point in my life, I would like to own a proper tank where I can take care of my fish and give them the life they deserve, but I think I'm gonna have to wait until I have more space for that. Because I had gone for such a light outline with the watercolor pencil, I did go over with darker colors when I was finished painting all the base colors, which helped to give it a much softer look, like I've said before. I eventually later on go over with colored pencils, but we're not quite at that part yet, and then here I am just adding a little more color into the mermaid. I think some point around here I try working some teal into the rest of the piece just because like the accents on the fin were bothering me and I wanted to bring it all together a little more. I do like how the bag ended up turning out. I was worried it wouldn't look good when I first started this piece, but I think it looks pretty cool. Oh yeah, here you can see me mixing in some more teal, and I'm trying to put it into the hair, but it's just not really showing up because I don't want it to go in too heavily, and then I tried putting some of it into the tail, but that also didn't turn out. And now here I am doing the outlining in colored pencils, which I think brings the entire piece back together. I'm not really a super competent painter yet, I'll admit that, and so using colored pencils was a nice way to make everything just a little bit cleaner and a little bit nicer. I would at some point like to be able to do entire pieces just in watercolor, but I don't think I'm at that point yet. This is also one of the bigger pieces I've done. I usually just use like little segments of the watercolor paper because it's scary committing to big pieces, but I want to work harder on being better, like I've said before. And overall, I do like how this piece turned out. I think there are still things I would like to fix. Her head's way too long, and I don't really like how she's putting her weight on her tail. I think I could have either repositioned the tail so that made a little more sense, or just had her floating. So in theory, I could just go over and redo this piece again and again and again until I'm happy with it, but I think I'm done with this painting for now. But that is all I have to say for this video, so thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you next time. Bye!